You know how sometimes a game comes out, it's absolutely brilliant, everyone loves it, but then it just doesn't get that big Game of the Year award, even though it totally should have? It feels like it got robbed, right? Well, today, we're righting some wrongs. We're talking about 15 incredible games that absolutely deserved Game of the Year, but for whatever reason, just missed out. Also, before we get into it, this list is not in any particular order, it's just random. So, yeah, now, let's dive into these masterpieces. Red Dead Redemption 2 2018. Red Dead Redemption 2 totally got robbed for Game of the Year, and why it's one of those games you just can't forget. First off, the world Rockstar built is just crazy detailed. It's massive. Like, you could spend 100 hours exploring and still find stuff you never saw before. Mountains, forests, swamps, tiny towns, big cities, snowy peaks, and dusty deserts. It's all there, and it feels real. You don't just see a map, you live in it. Every place has its own vibe, and you can tell a lot of love went into making it feel alive. The animals behave naturally, townsfolk have their routines, and sometimes random things happen that make you go, wait, what? Did that just happen? Then there's the story. Man, this ain't your typical good guy versus bad guy thing. Arthur Morgan, the main character, is complicated. He's an outlaw, sure, but he's got layers. You see him struggle with loyalty, regret, and trying to do the right thing, even when everything around him is falling apart. The game is kind of like a slow burn movie where you get to know the people, their flaws, their friendships, and their fights. It's not just about the big action moments, but the quiet ones too, like sitting by the campfire, chatting with your gang, or watching the sunrise over the plains. And Rockstar nailed the small stuff that makes the world believable. You gotta feed Arthur, brush your horse, pick what clothes to wear depending on the weather, and even keep your weapons clean or they'll jam in a fight. It sounds like a lot of chores, but it's actually part of the charm. It pulls you in deeper and makes the experience more real. Like you're actually out there living the outlaw life. The side quests and random encounters are next level too. You can spend hours just helping strangers, hunting legendary animals, or running from the law. Sometimes you stumble into something totally unexpected, like a runaway stagecoach or a stranger needing help, and those little moments stick with you longer than big gunfights. It keeps the game feeling fresh, even if you're already 50 hours in. Oh, and the music and voice acting, straight up amazing. The soundtrack perfectly matches the mood, sometimes somber, sometimes tense, sometimes hopeful, and the voice actors bring all the characters to life. Arthur's voice alone can make you feel his pain and hope, and the way the gang interacts feels so natural, like you're really part of a family. Now, I get that some people think the game is slow or too big, but honestly, that's part of the beauty. It's not trying to rush you, it wants you to take your time and really feel the world. In a world of fast-paced shooters and instant gratification games, Red Dead Redemption 2 is like a breath of fresh, dusty air. Ghost of Tsushima 2020. Ghost of Tsushima, man, this game is something else. Like, I remember when it dropped and I was just blown away by how beautiful everything looked. The island, gorgeous. I mean, it's like you're walking through some epic samurai movie, but, you know, the star, you know, the grass moves with the wind, cherry blossoms fall everywhere. It's kind of peaceful, but also kind of intense when you're sneaking up on Mongols. And the combat, oh, dude, the combat's tight. It's not just button mashing like some other games. You gotta time your blocks, pick the right stance depending on your enemy, and sneak around when you need to. It's got this perfect balance between being a samurai hero and a sneaky ghost. You get to feel badass without it being too complicated. Story-wise, it's simple, but hits you right in the feels sometimes. Jin, the main dude, is wrestling with what it means to be honorable while trying to save his home. Like, do you stick to samurai rules or do whatever it takes? It's that kind of struggle that makes you care about him and the people around him. Not super heavy, but enough to keep you interested. Also, the open world doesn't shove a million icons in your face, which is refreshing. You explore, find side quests, help villagers, or just chill in a hot spring. I swear, sometimes I just stopped to watch the sunset in the game because it looked so damn good. Not many games make you want to pause and just soak it all in. Honestly, I think it got robbed at Game of the Year because it came out the same time as other big hitters, but man, it deserved more love. If you haven't played it yet, you gotta check it out. It's like stepping into a samurai movie, but you get to be the hero doing all the cool moves. Uncharted 4 2016. This game just nails that whole oh snap, what's gonna happen next vibe from start to finish. So you play as Nathan Drake, this kind of charming treasure hunter dude who's been out of the game but gets pulled back in because, well, family stuff and old promises. And it's not just go find the treasure kind of deal. It's more like a wild roller coaster with crazy set pieces, sneaky puzzles, and fights that make you want to yell at the screen when you almost die. What's dope about this game is the story doesn't just throw you into some random jungle. Nah, it's about Drake's past catching up, and it feels real. Like, you see him struggling with what he wants versus what he's supposed to do, and the game's not afraid to slow down and show some heart. It's not just explosions and gunfights. It's real talk, jokes, and those little moments where you kind of go, oh, these guys actually care. The graphics, straight up jaw-dropping. Like, sometimes I'd just stop and stare because the water looked so real you'd swear you could splash it. The detail in the environments is next level, and the animations are buttery smooth. It feels like you're right there, climbing cliffs, sneaking through pirate caves, or racing through a crazy chase scene. Combat's cool too. It's got that mix of sneaking around and full-on shootout, so you don't get bored. Plus, the cover system is slick. Like, you can duck behind stuff and pop out to take down enemies, or just go full Rambo if you want to feel savage. Honestly, Uncharted 4 feels like the perfect send-off for Nathan Drake. It wraps up his story without feeling rushed, and it's packed with those big, crazy moments that make you want to keep playing. If you haven't tried it yet, seriously, it's like Indiana Jones, but cooler, and with way more witty one-liners. So Uncharted 4 drops in 2016, looking like a masterpiece. Stunning story, insane visuals, super tight gameplay, basically the whole package. Then, guess what? It gets robbed by Overwatch for Game of the Year. Now, don't get me wrong, Overwatch is a solid game. A ton of fun with friends and all that, but come on. It's a team shooter with colorful heroes, not exactly the deep, epic story adventure that Uncharted 4 brings. Like, it's kind of like comparing a blockbuster movie to a really good cartoon. Both cool, but totally different vibes. People were kind of shook because Uncharted 4 felt like the perfect way to end the whole Nathan Drake saga, and it had that cinematic magic that sticks with you. Meanwhile, Overwatch was more about quick matches and competitive play, which is awesome, but doesn't hit you in the feels the same way. It's Spider-Man 2, 2023. So let's talk about Spider-Man 2 at the Game Awards. Like, yeah, everyone was clapping for Baldur's Gate 3. Rightfully so. It was this massive, ambitious RPG with wild player freedom and deep storytelling. Totally get why it cleaned house, but at the same time, man, Spider-Man 2 showed up with its own kind of greatness, a different flavor, but just as powerful. Insomniac dropped this sequel that nailed what a superhero game should feel like. The combat was slick, the movement was smoother than butter, and the way they handled the Peter and Miles dynamic, straight up emotional at times. The Venom arc hit hard, and the whole pacing felt like a perfect mix of summer blockbuster and heartfelt drama. It's one of those games that didn't need to reinvent the wheel, it refined it, took what worked from the first game, then dialed it up to 11. Faster web swinging, bigger set pieces, more intense boss fights, and a story that actually made you care. And let's not forget the tech side too. Instant loading, gorgeous visuals, New York feeling alive. Insomniac's attention to detail was next level. So yeah, while BG3 deserved the big wins, Spider-Man 2 definitely deserved to walk away with something big too. Maybe best action game or even best narrative, because it had real emotion, real stakes, and it wasn't just fun to play, it stuck with you after the credits rolled. Bottom line, it wasn't about one game being better than the other, it's just that Spider-Man 2 delivered on every front and it deserved more recognition than it got. That's the part that kind of stings. It felt like one of the best superhero games ever made, and yet at the awards it was like, oh hey, good job, and that's it. So yeah, Spider-Man 2 was a win for fans even if it didn't clean up at the awards. Doesn't make it any less amazing. Cyberpunk 2077, 2020. Cyberpunk 2077 came out in 2020 with this insane hype train rolling at full speed. Everyone was losing their minds over it. Keanu Reeves in the game, a huge open world, deep story, crazy customization. It felt like it was going to be the biggest RPG ever. And honestly, it kind of was. Just not in the way people wanted at first. The game launched and, well, it was a mess. On PC, it mostly ran okay if you had a beefy rig, but on consoles, especially the older PS4 and Xbox One, it was a disaster. Bugs everywhere, crashes, weird glitches where characters would glitch out or disappear. missions that couldn't be completed, and overall just a game that felt broken. It was like they pushed it out the door before it was ready because CD Projekt Red had already delayed it so many times and wanted that holiday cash. Reviewers only got the PC version early, so no one really knew how bad the console versions were until launch day, which made the backlash even worse. Sony actually pulled it from the PlayStation Store, and people were demanding refunds left and right. It felt like a betrayal for fans who'd been waiting years for this game. The backlash was brutal, and it seriously hurt CD Projekt Red's reputation. Like, overnight, they went from heroes after The Witcher 3 to the biggest letdown in gaming. But here's the thing, the core of the game wasn't bad at all. Beneath the bugs and technical mess was this massive, detailed world that actually felt alive. Night City was full of life, the storylines and characters were deep and emotional, and the gameplay had a ton of potential. After 2 years of non-stop patches, updates, and even a cool anime series tie-in, Cyberpunk Edgerunners, the game started to feel like what everyone was hoping for at launch. A big overhaul patch and expansions made combat smoother, fixed loads of bugs, and just made the whole experience way more polished and fun. If Cyberpunk 2077 had launched in this state, man, it would have won tons of awards and probably would have been Game of the Year. Instead, it's remembered as a huge flop that got better later. So yeah, it fumbled the launch big time, probably the biggest in recent memory, but it was never a bad game deep down. It was just unfinished and rushed out too soon. Now it's a solid, ambitious, open-world RPG with a lot to offer if you give it another shot. Death Stranding, 2019. When Death Stranding dropped, it was like nothing most people had seen before. Kojima, the dude behind Metal Gear, made something totally different. The game's basically about delivering packages across a post-apocalyptic America, connecting isolated cities while avoiding these creepy, ghostly things called BTs. Sounds chill, but also kind of weird and slow, right? That's exactly what a lot of folks said at first. The gameplay is super unique, more like a walking simulator mixed with stealth and survival elements. It's all about planning routes, managing your load, balancing your gear, and just trudging across crazy landscapes. Some people loved the chill, almost meditative vibe of it. Others found it boring or frustrating, calling it a walking simulator with too much downtime. But here's the thing, the story is Kojima level deep and super mysterious. It's packed with crazy sci-fi ideas, emotional moments, and a massive cast of characters played by big names like Norman Reedus, Mads Mikkelsen, and Leah Seydoux. The way it explores connection, loneliness, and hope hit a lot of players on an emotional level, and man, the online part, that's where it gets really interesting. Even though you don't see other players directly, you can build roads, leave supplies, and help each other out in this asynchronous multiplayer. It's this subtle but powerful way of connecting people, fitting the whole theme perfectly. At launch, the game got mixed reactions because it's not for everyone. The pacing can be slow, and the gameplay loop isn't your typical action-packed stuff, but critics mostly gave it solid scores for its originality, story, and world building. It won a bunch of awards for sound design, music, and even for pushing the boundaries of what games can be. If you're into something different with a heavy focus on atmosphere and story, Death Stranding is pretty unforgettable. If you want non-stop action, maybe not so much. So yeah, Death Stranding didn't exactly smash the typical game mold, but it was a bold, artistic game that definitely deserved the recognition it got, even if it wasn't everyone's cup of tea. Titanfall 2, 2016. This game is kind of legendary for a lot of reasons, but it didn't get all the hype it totally deserved when it came out. First off, the campaign in Titanfall 2, straight up one of the best shooter stories in years. It's short but sweet, about a pilot named Jack Cooper who bonds with his Titan, BT-7274, and they go on this wild mission together. The writing's actually pretty solid, the characters have personality, and the level design is next level creative. One mission even messes with time in this insane way that's just pure genius gameplay-wise. Seriously, that level alone is worth playing the whole campaign for. Then there's the multiplayer, fast, fluid, and super satisfying. The movement system is smooth as hell, with wall running, double jumps, and jetpacks all over the place. It feels like a perfect mix of skill and speed, and the Titans add this massive layer of tactical depth. You're not just running and shooting, you're calling in these giant mechs and using their unique abilities to dominate the battlefield. It's frantic, but also strategic. and it nails that big sci-fi war vibe. Now here's the kicker, Titanfall 2 got buried a bit because it dropped right between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Both those games had bigger marketing machines and more attention, so Titanfall 2 kind of got lost in the shuffle, which sucked because it was way better than a lot of what was out then. Critics loved it though. The campaign and multiplayer both got high praise for being fun, fresh, and polished, but the timing of the release meant it never got the massive audience it deserved. In the end, Titanfall 2 is a game that any shooter fan should check out. It didn't fumble because of bad design or lack of quality, it was just a victim of poor timing. If it had launched at a different moment, it probably would have scooped up way more awards and been talked about as one of the best shooters of that generation. Silent Hill 2 Remake 2024. So Silent Hill 2 Remake dropped in 2024, and honestly it's kind of a big deal for horror fans. Like, everyone loves the original Silent Hill 2, right? It's classic, creepy, and has one of the most twisted stories in gaming history. So the remake had a lot riding on it. People were hyped, but also kind of nervous. Would it keep that old school scary vibe, or would it just feel like another polished but soulless reboot? Now, when the Game Awards rolled around that year, Silent Hill 2 Remake was definitely on the radar, but it wasn't exactly stealing the show. It had a solid shot at some categories, especially Best Audio Design and Best Narrative. The sound team crushed it. All those creepy ambient noises and the music just hit different, giving you those goosebumps even in 2024. And the story? Man, it's still haunting, so that gave it some serious narrative cred. But here's the thing, it didn't win the big awards. And that's not because it wasn't good. Nah, it's just that 2024 had some wild competition with huge games pushing the envelope in ways Silent Hill didn't. The remake mostly played it safe. It was more about respecting the original than reinventing it. So while it nailed the atmosphere, it didn't blow people away with crazy new ideas or flashy tech. And also the remake didn't really pull in new audiences the way some other games did. Horror's a niche, and while Silent Hill 2 fans loved it, a lot of the general crowd was more hyped about other genres that year. So yeah, it was definitely a solid, spooky experience that deserved some shoutouts, and it got a few nominations, but it just wasn't the kind of game that walks away with Game of the Year or anything like that. Still, if you're into creepy stories and psychological horror, it's a win. Black Myth Wukong 2024. Now this is another monster from the same year, but god damn, this was one of the most hyped game launches ever I have seen, and honestly, it kind of delivers exactly what you expect from a modern action RPG, without trying to be something it's not. The combat, man, it's tight. It feels really deliberate, but also fluid. If you've played Dark Souls or Sekiro, you'll notice it's in that same neighborhood. Timing, your dodges, blocking, and attacking with care is key. But here's the kicker. Wukong's staff isn't just a weapon, it's a whole toolbox. The staff can stretch and morph, so fights aren't just button mashing. You gotta think about distance, how you approach enemies, and switch up your tactics. It adds some fresh flavor that keeps combat from getting stale. Also, the game throws in some cool RPG elements. You collect souls from enemies, which you can then use to level up or unlock new skills. But the best part is how some of those skills let you borrow powers from bosses or monsters you kill. That means your playstyle can change mid-game depending on what abilities you pick up. It's like you're customizing your Wukong to fit how you want to fight. Graphically, yeah, the game is a stunner. Unreal Engine 5 is flexing hard here. The environments feel massive but detailed, and the lighting is gorgeous without being over the top. It's the kind of game where you want to stop for a second just to look around because the world is so damn well made. But what's great is that it doesn't just look good, everything in the world feels purposeful and alive, which helps with the immersion. Now the story, it's a little cryptic at first, but that's kind of the point. The game throws you into this mythological world, and you learn the story as you go, piece by piece. It's not super hand-holding, but if you're into myths and legends, it's satisfying. And the tone is darker than you might expect from a Monkey King story. It's not just a fun romp. There's real weight to what Wukong is dealing with. What makes Black Myth Wukong stand out is that it's not just trying to ride the Souls-like wave. It's adding its own spin on things, especially with how the combat feels and the skill system. Plus, the pacing is solid, fights are intense but not overwhelming, and the bosses, they hit hard, but once you learn their patterns, it's a real rush to take them down. The game got a lot of praise at the Game Awards and other shows because it showed that a smaller studio could make something that looks and feels like a AAA title, but it ultimately lost to Astrobot in the Game Awards, which sound pretty crazy, but anyway, if you like action games that make you think during combat, but still give you that satisfying hack and slash feel, Black Myth Wukong is a pretty solid pick. It's got that sweet balance of challenge and reward, and it doesn't waste your time with filler.